last few years, Shaquille O'Neal has claimed that the 2001 Lakers are the best championship team ever. And his co-star on that team, Kobe Bryant, has said, "Well, look, I'll take that 0-1 team that we had against anybody in history of the game, any team." This, and points made in various articles and books, got us thinking about just how good the 0-1 Lakers were. We were so convinced that we made this video to rest our case to why the 2001 Lakers are the greatest team in NBA history. Let's begin by examining just how dominant the Lakers were during the season in question. The 0-1 Lakers certainly didn't have a stunning record by any stretch of the imagination, but the way they ended their season was spectacular. Their regular season record was 56-26, and this was with Kobe Bryant developing into a superstar and Shaquille O'Neal remaining a superstar. The reason for the underwhelming record was a combined 22 games missed from Kobe and Shaq as a result of injuries, which hurt the record significantly. The Lakers managed to finish the season on a 23-1 stretch, including the playoffs, to cap off one of the greatest seasons ever. This included an 8-0 run to end the regular season and a 15-1 record in the playoffs, where they would easily take down some of the toughest competition ever faced in one playoff series. The league was quite strong in the Western Conference during the 0-1 season, and there were certainly plenty of rising and falling teams who are going to be remembered for a long time. Not only were the Lakers able to beat all those powerhouse teams, but they did so in resounding fashion against future or past rival teams. Individually, the Lakers were exceptionally good, and they prevailed on the offensive end against superior defensive competition. In the second round of the playoffs, the Lakers would take on the Sacramento Kings, meaning Kobe would be matched up against Doug Christie, a man who would rattle off 4 consecutive all-defensive team selections during the early to mid-2000s. Kobe would finish off the series against the Kings, averaging 29.8 points per game over a series in which he was guarded by an elite defender. If you recall, the previous season the Portland Trail Blazers had taken the Lakers to 7 games and came incredibly close to winning the series and advancing to the finals. This season, the Lakers swept the 50-win Blazers, and this would be a similar sign of what happened in the other series. These were fantastic teams who were delivered crushing losses at the hands of this team, which is evidence for the Lakers' case as a top 5 team ever. In the final 2 rounds of the playoffs, the Lakers would play the San Antonio Spurs and Philadelphia 76ers. Against the Spurs team who had just beaten the Lakers in the playoffs and won the finals 2 years before, they would go on to win the 03 and 05 finals, but the Lakers dominated them. Keep in mind that this Spurs team was pretty much the peak of the Robinson-Duncan duo, and they would be able to try and manage the Lakers' biggest threat. Shaq did have his numbers go down in the series as a result of the 2 dominated big men, but the decrease in his numbers were not significant. For the series, the Diesel averaged 27 points and 13 rebounds, compared to his 28.7 and 12.7 for the season, to go along with 30.4 and 15.4 for the playoffs as a whole. Kobe and Derek Fisher stepped up to sweep the Spurs and make the NBA Finals. There they would face Allen Iverson and the Philadelphia 76ers. And for the final series, Shaq would dominate. The Lakers would win the series in 5, the only loss of the playoffs for Los Angeles. For the series, Shaq managed to average 33 points, 15.8 rebounds, 4.8 assists, and 3.4 blocks per game for the whole series. The dominance of Shaq and Kobe over the extended playoffs was not something we would see again for the rest of the Kobe-Shaq era. There was a chemistry rift at the beginning of the season, but Phil Jackson was able for the most part to get Kobe to accept that Shaq was the main man on the team, and for Shaq to accept that Kobe was his co-star. Putting a 22-year-old Kobe who was averaging 20.5 points per game for the season, and a prime Shaq who put up a ridiculous stat line on fantastic efficiency is something that no team could compete with in the modern salary cap era. The fantastic competition they faced was not able to put up anywhere near a fight against this juggernaut of a squad. The only loss of the series came in overtime on a 48-point performance from Allen Iverson, worthy of ESPN classic reruns for the next several decades. The competition that would have to go up against this team and try to take them down will have huge mismatches whenever they have their starters on the court. For starters, the teams who will be trying to take down the Lakers hypothetically are the 72 Lakers, 83 Sixers, 86 Celtics, 87 Lakers, 92 Bulls, 96 Bulls, 05 Spurs, 12 Heat, and 17 Warriors. The first thing that stands out about these teams is they don't have anyone who can realistically compete with Shaq. The best competition for him is past his prime Wilt Chamberlain, Moses Malone, Robert Parrish, a past his prime Kareem, Bill Cartwright, Luke Longley, an out-of-position Tim Duncan, an out-of-position Chris Bosh, and Zaza Pachulia. There's hardly a single player from that list who can realistically match with Shaquille O'Neal, either because they're past their prime, out of position, or cannot compete with a freak like Shaq. The only players who do stand a chance against Shaq are Tim Duncan, maybe Robert Parrish, Moses Malone, or the past prime Wilt Chamberlain. The other factor is that Shaq had a co-star who was just as lethal a scorer that season, and we need to look at how the competition is able to go against both Shaq and Kobe. Defending Kobe, you have Gail Goodrich, Andrew Toney, Danny Ainge, Byron Scott, Michael Jordan, Manu Ginobili, Dwayne Wade, and Klay Thompson. The only players who can truly guard Kobe from the options are Jerry West, Michael Jordan, and Klay Thompson. Now find a team who can guard both Kobe and Shaq without a mismatch, and the only team who has somewhat of a chance of guarding duo is the 72 Lakers. If they really want to create a defensive counter to the Kobe-Shaq duo, they'll need to put Jerry West down to an elite shooter several inches taller than him, and put Wilt on Shaq, who will be more than happy to bully the 35-year-old in the paint. The competition needs to be able to counterattack offensively and try to generate baskets at a level that they can compete with the strong rated of the Lakers. The 72 Lakers, for instance, will need to attempt to generate baskets in the paint, with fewer shots coming outside of 20 feet. This will be difficult since you have a paint presence in Shaq who can counter Wilt's scoring and rebounding impact on the game. A team like the 83 76ers will just end up trying to attack the basketball with athletic players in Mo Cheeks and Julius Erving, and then the one-man cleanup crew of Moses Malone would be rebounding the misses and putting the shots right back up. With Shaq on the other team, this is very difficult, since like with Wilt, Shaq will minimize the rebounds hauled in by Moses. At least with Moses, he's still able to have a strong impact on the offensive rebounding battle, since he is at least a top 5 rebounder and top 3 offensive rebounder all time. Dr. J will be able to athletically overpower Rick Fox on the perimeter, but if Fox is able to prevent Irving from getting within 10 to 15 feet of the basket, the Lakers should easily be able to win this. Play styles will certainly contrast when teams of different eras play against the Lakers team. The 92 and 96 Bulls have varying levels of perimeter presence, while the 17 Warriors can torture the Lakers offensively. The Bulls can rely on crafty moves from Michael Jordan, and specifically the 96 team will have Steve Kerr on the outside off the bench, providing more support. Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan are both capable of guarding Kobe, but one will be left guarding Derek Fisher or Rick Fox. The Warriors, on the other hand, are going to be able to destroy the Lakers with volleys from beyond the arc fired from Durant, Thompson, and Curry. They will attempt to force Shaq to come outside and playing Draymond Green as center during a small ball rotation, and this draws O'Neal out of the paint, and it gives the Warriors offense more room to operate. They don't have a real solution for Shaq, but with Klay Thompson, they can be able to limit Kobe's impact. Durant and Kirby will be issues for Fisher and Fox defensively, and the perimeter would be the point of focus for the Lakers, who will certainly struggle against a team like Golden State. The other teams who are interesting matchups are the 87 Lakers, 86 Celtics, and the 05 Spurs. The 87 Lakers are the greatest team of the Showtime, and their defense will be an issue, but they're the worst defensive rebounding team in the entire NBA. As I already stated, Byron Scott was an average defender, and so Kobe can wreak havoc, with Fisher also having a good performance against a defensive liability in Magic Johnson. The 86 Celtics can at least have Parrish trying to take on Shaq, and Bill Walton off the bench definitely helps their case. Danny Ainge is not a perfect guy to put on Kobe, but he will do. And the Celtics have a fantastic ability to play both a giant lineup as well as a killer small ball unit. Bird against Rick Fox is not going to be pretty, and he will likely be the go-to man every possession he is on the court for Boston. As for the Spurs, they actually did play the Lakers, and with a similar lineup to what they had in 05. The differences will be Tim Duncan on Shaq instead of David Robinson, which is a huge defensive upgrade for the Spurs. Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili will provide boosts, but they will be countered by Fisher and Kobe. Robert Horry actually starts the power forward for both of these teams, and Duncan and Shaq down low means these teams are pretty much equal. Lastly, we'll cover the ridiculous tandem of Kobe and Shaq, arguably the greatest 1-2 punch in the history of basketball. This was the perfect time for the legendary duo of Shaq and Kobe Bryant to be playing together. Shaq was in the middle of his prime at 28 years old and was putting up some of the best numbers of his career. Kobe was now a superstar in the league, and at just 22 years old, he seemed like he could fill the mantle of the best player in the NBA. Remember, the league was looking for its next big star after Jordan's second retirement, and so Iverson and Shaq held that title, though they both peaked in the short term while the NBA was looking for a long-term face of the league. With Kobe coming into the league in 1996 at just 17 years old, he would still be able to develop into a star and still be in his early 20s. This is similar to how Anthony Davis is now a superstar in the league, and he's been in the league for 6 seasons, but he's still only 24. Back to Kobe, he was developing into a superstar as well, but he was just 22 at the time, which meant he could be putting up similar numbers to ones he was putting up in 01 for the next decade or longer. One of the best tools used for determining the dominance of a player is to see if they meet the criteria of the 42 Club, an accomplishment created by Bill Simmons. To get into the 42 Club, you need to have a simple requirement of having your points per game, rebounds per game, and assists per game for the season add up to at least 42. This isn't the best stat for some players whose impact can't be felt through these stats, but for Kobe and Shaq, this is a good way to analyze their season. Shaq did make the club for the season, putting up numbers 28.7 points per game, 12.7 rebounds per game, and 3.7 assists per game, adding up to a total of 45.1. Kobe didn't end up making the 42 club for the season, but still put up 28.5 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 5 assists per game for the season, adding up to a total of 39.4. These are already extraordinary numbers for Shaq and Kobe, but if you look at their playoff numbers, you'll be even more impressed by their performance during the 16-game stretch. In the playoffs, Shaq and Kobe excelled against competition that they would have trouble against in other seasons. For the playoffs, Shaq and Kobe would become the only team to ever have 2 42 club players for the playoffs, something that has never happened before. During the playoffs, Shaq put up 30.4 points per game, 15.4 rebounds per game, and 3.2 assists per game, for a crazy total of 49, qualifying easily for the club. Kobe put up 29.4 points per game, 7.3 rebounds per game, and 6.1 assists per game, to finish with a total of 42.8. For the record, the 17 Golden State Warriors didn't even have one 42 club player during their incredible playoff stretch, as Kevin Durant had 40.7, while Stephen Curry had a score of just 41. This shows that even the 17 Warriors, who had 2 former MVPs as well, with both those former MVPs being in their primes at 28 years old, could not even have one player average numbers to get into the 42 club, while the 01 Lakers had 2. The duo also had one of the greatest combined playoff performances ever if you take their playoff stats, combine them, and then average them out. If you take the playoff stats of Shaq and Kobe, then combine them and make an average of the numbers as they were one player, you would get some of the greatest playoff numbers ever put up. They would put up an average 29.9 points per game, 11.3 rebounds per game, and 4.7 assists per game, 45.9 on the 42 club scale. The highest 42 club performance ever by 2 players if you average their stats. For comparison, the next highest performance is Kareem and Magic during the 1980 playoffs, who put up an average of 25.9 points, 10 rebounds, and 6.4 assists per game, enough to just barely qualify for the 42-point club. The only other team in NBA playoff history who have 2 players that average the 42 club with combined stats is the 1968 Celtics, who had Havlicek and Russell put up 20.2 points, 15.7 rebounds, and 6.4 assists. The other historic duos like Jordan and Pippen didn't qualify for the 42 club. The duos who didn't have 42 include Jordan and Pippen, Hakeem and Clyde Drexler, Kareem and Oscar Robertson, and Larry Bird and Kevin McHale. The highest ever combined scoring average in the playoffs among the duos listed comes from 01 Shaq and Kobe as well, with the duo having combined 29.9 points per game, while the next highest came from 02 Shaq and Kobe and 93 MJ and Pippen, who both had a combined average of 27.6 points per game. This shows how truly dominant the greatest playoff duo of all time was, and as we already examined, the competition was very talented. Thanks for watching, and feel free to follow our Instagram at the Hardwood Report IG.